This wasn't just a sentencing. This was a man explaining how one decision destroyed his life, and a judge making sure the damage was finally understood. What happens next may decide whether this cycle ends or repeats. This is the case of People versus Ashley Bennett. The defendant said she was not feeling well, so the court allowed her to stand at the podium. The prosecutor confirmed that a victim is present for sentencing. The victim is Alan Coleman, who was injured and later needed medical treatment.
Make sure that I'm well versed before we get started. And you can sit down. You don't have to stand there. You can sit wherever you like. And you can sit down too. You don't have to stand there. And know how well you do that. I have to harass her. She used to be with me for a long time. Then she became who she is, and I don't get to see her. Well, actually, I do get to see her at the fan meetings. Stand right there. State what your name is.
Alan Coleman.
Mr. Coleman, you're here for purposes of sentencing of the defendant. And I assume that you would like to talk to me about how she has cost you. I'm guessing it's probably money, but let me give you a chance to just speak and tell me what's going on.
I am here. You obviously have my victim impact statement, but I am here to reiterate certain facts on that are still happening to this day. I still attend physical therapy for my shoulder, even after the surgery, which they cut open my arm and cut the bicep tendon off the shoulder, drilled a hole into a screw into my arm bone and reattached it. Took out bursa sac, did some labrum repairs. I have problems with my neck. And it's been a couple of years and I'm still doing physical therapy. I'm actually having to fight the insurance company because they're refusing to pay for it now. So it's an ongoing process. I mean, it almost cost me my marriage, my sanity, having all these painkillers and all these medications. I lost my job because of it. Once they found out I had to have surgery, they cut me off and they fired me, terminated me, whatever terminology they wanted to use. But according to the state of Michigan, if you're not able to perform your job, they don't have to hold your job for you for a prolonged period of time. And because they're a small company, they don't have to abide by the FMLA laws. So I was in a good trade, the heating air conditioning trade. I had passed my EPA license and, I was trying to get another job, but nobody will hire me because I don't have 2 years under my belt in HVAC. So I had to pursue employment via another route.
While recovering from surgery, the victim reviewed the defendant's criminal record. On the same day of the incident, the defendant was already supposed to be in court for driving without a license. When the victim heard the defendant might get a plea deal, he felt frustrated, especially because police did not take the case seriously even after learning about his serious injuries.
Kicked it up to the prosecutor kicked it back down to the police department. Before I had surgery, I ran around, got all my doctor's records, and I gave it to the police department. Say, here, I did the legwork for you. You guys need to seriously consider what's going on here, And I was let down by them. I was told they couldn't find the other victim of the accident, so here I am. I tried to make contact with that victim to try to get them to come forward, but alas, it didn't prevail, and here we are. So I've been thinking about this, and it's been constantly on my mind. I feel it every day. Every day I feel pain and what this has cost me. It's not necessarily about the money. I mean, I'm having to pay for the physical therapy out of pocket because the insurance company won't cover it anymore. So my concern is what's going to happen to this defendant, because obviously the behavior is not going to change. And by not having a higher charge, she's going to get a lesser punishment. But I wanted to make sure that she got something, because from what I understand, if they would have gone to court, there's a chance that the jury could have found her not guilty. But, it's definitely changed the trajectory of my life. And all I can ask is that she be punished accordingly.
I think you could also ask for an opportunity to address her directly, because she probably has no notion of what it is that she's done to your life.
Can I?
Yeah, she's right there.
So, Ms. Bennett, what you did to me is unexcusable. I don't know if you know what shoulder surgery is like, but it is definitely not enjoyable. I suffered for months. Not only and if you don't know how the work comp system works, they ain't exactly you know, hip hip hurrah, let's go get surgery. So I had to wait and wait and wait. And because of that wait, I lost my job. You know, I pride myself on holding employment. I pride myself on doing many trades. And I had a chance to make a huge amount of money from this trade. Not only working for somebody else, but I had just gotten my EPA license. I could have taken this trade and I could have eventually started my own thing. And now I have had to go out and do something else because I can't even utilize that what is the word? That sorry, I'm a lost for word.
The victim explained that he lost an important work opportunity because of his injuries. Months later, he is still in physical therapy. The defendant was driving without a license, driving someone else's car, and the car had no insurance. Because of all this, the victim believes the charges should have been much harsher, and he wants real justice.
And I hope you learn from this because it's not cool what happened at all. You know, I was just minding my own business, doing my daily work thing, and now here we are.
You know what a substance use disorder is?
No.
That's a substance use disorder.
Okay.
It has an addiction to narcotics.
I understand that. That could be, but it's still a choice.
I think that's a choice at first. But she's at the point where she no longer feels like she has a choice, although she's been to treatment a few times. Unless you actually have the resolve to make sure that you don't have to go back, this could actually be a lifelong problem for her. And that this is sort of like just one stage in her process of what happened to you. And I think it's important for her to understand that what she's going through is not in isolation, that there are real people who are suffering because of her suffering. And the fact that she probably does not enjoy getting high anymore doesn't really matter if she's not prepared to address that and to make that part of the ethos of her going forward with the rest of her life. And I don't know that she actually has somebody to speak to her in the manner that you just spoke to her. And I think it's important for her to have had that opportunity, for her to be able to come to an understanding that there are real world consequences to what it is that she's doing to herself, because it's not just herself she's doing it to. She's harming other people too. And you're one of the people that she's harmed. There are probably dozens of people in her family that she's harmed as well. Because there are people that she was born to that love her and care about her and think that she's a great person and that she's lost her way. But that's what drugs do to people.
Because it wasn't only hitting me, but the lady she hit had a child in her car. She didn't stop to see how they were doing. Instead, she hit me and then left.
Guaranteed that the brains have been fried by the use of drugs.
Right.
The court explained that drugs are extremely serious. Many people think drug use is just about feeling good or having fun. But the defendant is no longer at that stage. She is now addicted.
She's actually been to treatment before, and it's not worked because she hasn't learned how to make it work for her. And usually for people, it can actually take, I heard one guy say 17 times. And I don't believe that's true for everyone. But depending on the makeup of the person that you're dealing with, it'd be a long, hard process. And a lot of people end up dead before they can kick it. It's really kind of scary when you think about it. That these people are actually out on the highways and the byways. They're in offices, they're in homes, they're all over the place. Our country has a problem with addiction. And sitting here as a judge has made me understand that chapter and verse. So I think it's really vitally important for you to be able to have an opportunity to look her dead in the eye and tell her what it is that you've told her, because you weren't prompted to do that. I didn't ask you to be here today. You found your way here because you knew that she was being sentenced and you wanted her to hear from you. And if you look at her, you can see that it actually made a difference to her. But is that enough of a difference that she would actually change the course of her life? Maybe. Maybe not.
Time will tell.
Only time will tell. Only time will tell. But as a judge, I have the capacity to monitor situations and to ensure that the best possible outcomes happen, as long as I can watch and make sure that they're happening. So I'm basing her on a period of probation is that vehicle that gives me an opportunity to supervise her and to make sure that she's doing precisely what it is that she's supposed to do. Because in her world, what she's done only affects her. There are no other victims, despite the fact that there might be 10 other victims out there just like you. I mean, not all suffering from shoulder injuries, but suffering from various different injuries. Because that's what addicts do. They destroy things around them. They destroy people around them because their addiction is destroying them. They're no longer the person that they were when they first started partying with the drug. They're using the drug out of compulsion now because they have to, because they're going to be sick if they don't. So while she is obviously the culprit in this whole affair, in a way, she's also the victim because nobody probably ever told her that, addiction is not what you think it is. It's not a big party. It's not a good time.
At first, drugs may feel enjoyable, but addiction becomes a monster. Once addicted, your body depends on it. Without drugs, the person becomes violently sick. The judge believes the defendant reached that point. This is not just one person's problem. There are thousands like her in the community, and addiction can hide anywhere, even behind people who look normal.
Some of them working in construction. Some of them work on the road. Some of them unemployed because they can't keep a job because of their addiction. So I really appreciate you being here to give voice to what would otherwise just be a shadow of a person. But by you being able to be here and to look her in the eye and say, do you know what you actually have done to me? Not just you, but by extension, those people that care about you, because you can't be all that you're supposed to be for the other people in your life because of what's happened to you. But nobody would actually tell her that. She would just think that what happens to her is just the end of the world in terms of what's going on. And it's not. It affects all of us. Everybody sitting in this courtroom, it affects. Because we're all here because of what happened with her. But she would never see that. She would never understand that if you weren't here for me to be able to have the opportunity to point that out. So your role here is vital. It's crucial. It's very important. And I think on some level, it actually gives you a feeling that, you didn't just take this lying down. You actually came to court and you looked her in the eye and you told her how you felt about what happened. Vitally important. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
If you have anything else you want to say?
Well, I'm just curious with the nature of going through her criminal records, like as if she doesn't comply with everything you know.
I'd lock her up. But at the end of the day, none of that matters unless she understands. She understands that she's the captain of her ship, even though she feels like she has no control over where that ship is taking her. She is the captain of her ship, and if she is ready to get her life together, there are people well schooled at helping her to do that. But until and unless she does that, unless she decides that, she's going to just be sitting there as a puddle with things happening to her instead of for her.
Can I ask you what that saying was you told the other gentleman earlier?
In this courtroom, excuses weren't enough. Pain had a voice. Addiction had consequences. And the judge made one thing clear: only one person can decide if this story ends differently. Subscribe for real courtroom moments that change lives.